and there's this sort of smug liberal and left attitude that kind of laughs at people like Naomi Wolf. Oh, she's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Not realizing that she's like got the biggest audience she's ever had before over on Steve Bannon's podcast, which is called The War Room. And I loved the Bannon stuff because I haven't listened to that show. And Naomi Klein went down the rabbit hole, kind of thinking about or listening to Steve Bannon. I thought it was really funny that her husband was like yelling at her while she's doing yoga, listening to Steve Bannon's podcast. But that part of it was fascinating because if you read those chapters, it's like, oh, Jesus, like this is exactly how Trump won. And it's not just because of Steve Bannon, but it's because of the streams of culture and politics that the left and liberals sort of missed. And that part was really good to me.
Yeah, I think that the central sort of memoir conceit of the book is that Naomi Wolf is Naomi Klein's doppelganger.
Right.
And Klein takes us on this journey of saying, what if we take Naomi Wolf and by extension Bannon and the right seriously? And what if we don't laugh at all their ideas, but sort of probe the motivations and the feelings behind them? And I think that's one of the most significant moves in the book. And I agree with you. And I feel like that's what we've been trying to do this year, if not for a while, is to sort of question the orthodoxies on the left, but also to kind of question the tones and to figure out, why those strategies aren't successful. But with the irony that Klein really emphasizes here, that while the left or we have been busy sort of canceling everyone that we think is dumb, the right sort of like hijacked a lot of our discourse and ideas and then like fed it to people through what she calls the mirror world. And it's worth noting that this project sort of started before COVID, and she tracks something that we just tracked with the whole 4chan episode we did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
That Bannon took notice of Occupy. And I thought this was like a missing link from that prior conversation we had about Occupy. And Bannon saw the angry white male, but also like the disaffected youth, but also the power of the left's rhetoric about Wall Street and sort of hijacks it and transforms it to the elites and starts doing the projections we're familiar with. I do think that just to kind of grab a couple of her passages here might be interesting because she sets up this whole problem of her doppelganger as a metonym for the left, but also for like the US, but also for all of us. And so part of what she's saying is it's not just that Naomi Wolf is hers, it's that the right is the left's doppelganger and vice versa.
Yeah.
And the reason that's so significant is, if you're on the hard right or the hard left in sort of an unreflected or unreflective moment, it's just an enemy to be shot in the street. But if you take the idea of the doppelganger seriously, the doppelganger is your intimate other. It's like it's you inside out, and you have to kind of give an emotional space to understand that this entity is in some ways a projection of yourself.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it's a projection of things that you repress on both sides. That's a rich territory to mine.
Yeah, that's why Naomi Wolf can fit on both the right and the left. You know what I mean? Like she just tweaked her language a little bit, but like that sort of the thing that unites Naomi Wolf, whether she's on the left or the right, is this sort of like hysterical tone where she's like, fucking fascism is coming. She's always using like metaphors, like very strong metaphors like slavery and the Holocaust, and everything is like really, really amped up emotionally. And it seems like, yeah, you can find success with that on the left and right. And Bannon understands that.
And the key technology to this is the technology that we've been talking about through the social dilemma and through the antisocial network and through the QAnon, which is social media, that these corporate technologies have significantly advanced certain forms of power on both sides, but in some ways it seems to be more politically efficacious on the right. And so it's almost like the left doesn't really know how to understand or use social media in some way, given just the last election, but also given this power of Bannon to rule the mirror world. Let me give you a couple passages here because I think if I hadn't read the book, I'd want to hear just a couple things. So early on in the book, in the intro, she says, I'm hardly the only one to grapple with a sense that reality is somehow warping. Almost everyone I talk to tells me about people they have lost down the rabbit hole. Parents, siblings, best friends, as well as formerly trusted intellectuals and commentators. People once familiar who have become unrecognizable, altered. It began to feel as if the forces that have destabilized my world are part of an expansive web of forces that are destabilizing our larger world, and that understanding these forces could hold a key to gaining firmer ground. I don't know about that last line, but that sort of sets up the problem, and it identifies something that I think we are already familiar with, which is the sense that not only have we lost people that we know to this mirror world, to the conspiracy theories, to the lizard people, to the assassins, etc., but we are kind of all capable of losing ourselves and people we haven't lost yet, almost at any time. In other words, that this power is constant, the threat is constant. And here's just a couple pages later, and I'll toss it back to you. But this is where she brings in the idea of the doppelganger as like the fulcrum for this rabbit hole world we all now live in.